Hi, yappers! Welcome to Too Long to Text, the podcast where we overshare, give you big sister advice, share the hard-earned lessons from our 20s, and spill untold stories.
Before we get any further, make sure you're following our Instagram at Too Long to Text. That's where we'll notify you about upcoming episodes and share unseen pictures and videos.
Congrats! You've now been added to our group chat.
This topic was too long to text.
Hi, yappers!
We were trying to harmonize, but that wasn't
Welcome to the jump scare. Hey, guys.
We have some special guests today on our podcast.
More than one.
Why don't you introduce this lovely lady to my left?
Okay, so this lovely lady here to my right is my beautiful girlfriend, Natalie.
Who was highly requested on today's episode.
Highly requested.
Yeah.
Right.
And
It was Max and then Natalie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because men are always right.
Yeah.
No, let's say it together. Men are always right.
Oh, you ate me. You ate down with that one. You ate
You
me.
kind of got ate up.
And to my right is my
Sophie's learning left and right.
Yeah. To my right is my lovely cousin, Max.
She paused. She
Yeah.
forgot what my name was. No, yeah, Max.
Well, I was gonna go on to say like my lovely, most intelligent, smartest, sweetest,
Tallest. Also.
tallest, most perfect cousin of mine. Just
No,
kidding.
it's true.
I love
And
all my
also,
cousins.
Sophie wouldn't be here if it wasn't for me. There's many times in your life that I've saved you.
Yes, he has saved my life many times.
Suffocation.
Yeah, I did suffocate in a chair at 4 years old and he
Drowning.
Chair.
and drowned,
Perfect.
and he saved
Yeah.
me.
Okay. Perfect. And how did I save your life? Right.
Yeah.
Right. Silence
Moving
is very
on.
loud. Moving on here.
But we're so excited. Do you want to talk about what we're going to talk about today?
Yeah. Well, all things OCD. Okay. We have a few people here in this room that have some
Majority.
experience with OCD.
Raise your
We all have
hand.
experience with OCD in one way or another. Some of us living with it, some of us working with it, some of us doing both, and some of us living alongside it. So, we thought this would be fun to talk about in a way that's relatable to you guys, but then also bringing in a bit of a professional opinion.
Sure. So, to give you some background, I have experience with psychology. I'm currently getting my PhD in media psychology, and I do personal development coaching. So, what that looks like is working with kids, or young adults rather, of varying neuronal profiles, helping them essentially achieve their goals. So, everything from landing job interviews to supporting them socially. And yeah, I guess to do a big asterisk at the top, we're not giving any medical advice.
No, of
Not a
course not.
clinician. We're just four girls yapping,
Yep.
talking about our experience with OCD, and hopefully people can, glean
And
some
getting some like,
insight.
professional insight from you as well.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Limited, heavy limited.
Right.
But I'm here, and I'm
Right.
trying my
It's
best.
literally saved my life, not just physically, but also mentally. So
Oh,
I'll take it. I'll take it.
true. He was
that's
like,
really sweet.
Yeah.
Aw,
Illy.
thank you. I love you too. I love you too.
I love you. Thank you.
I love you. Thank you. Well, we will get into that. That's like the meat of the episode. But should we start off with our voice memos?
Yes, voice memos of the week.
Who wants to go first?
I could start. I could go.
Okay.
So I was just in Colorado with my partner Addie, who you all know, and
Love
we
Addie.
went to. Have you guys ever heard of Casa Bonita?
No.
Okay. Have you ever heard of South Park?
No.
The show?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So there's this show called South Park. Basically, Casa Bonita is like if you took the Pirates of the Caribbean ride and made it like a multi-tier Mexican restaurant.
Okay.
So it's like this fantastical Disneyland place, and it shut down during COVID. But the creators of South Park were fans of this place, and so they saved it and they revived it.
Okay.
And so we went, and it was this wonderful experience. There's like cliff divers, there's people in costumes running around. Yeah, it's crazy. There's like a giant statue of Cartman. But it was awesome because we were with Addie's nephew, Percy. Shout out Percy. I know you're watching this. He's like 4 years old. But no, it was great because it's like designed for little kids. Like really, it's like Disneyland for little kids. But because Addie and I have something wrong with us where we like love that type of thing, right? It was perfect because we had this excuse. So we'd be like, Percy, and don't you want to go to the little puppet show now? And Percy, don't you want a photo with this person? And so we got to like manipulate him to do what we
Love
wanted.
that,
So that's
love
my
that.
And that's what little kids are for.
That's so fun.
right, exactly.
That's like
yeah.
Rainforest Cafe. Do you
Yes,
guys know what that
yes,
is?
yes.
so much fun.
That was awesome.
And like it's 4 kids, but
Is it?
is it? Because
Yeah.
it's kind of the adults. Yeah, love
Exactly.
It's like, wait, Frozen's my favorite movie.
that. Exactly that. Okay, Sophie.
Oh, I don't have one. You can go.
Oh, okay.
Well, can I say off the record, Sophie went, my week was really sad. So
Yeah,
I don't
she
have
did.
any-
Okay, well, I guess I didn't have a specific voice memo, but an overall voice memo of the week. There was a lot of ups and downs. It was a very blah week. I don't know. I think work stuff, personal stuff. Not every week has to be so exciting and fun.
No.
In fact, most aren't.
Yeah, most aren't. Yeah.
I have very high expectations for my days and weeks, and sometimes
Yeah.
they're just not that. Well, last night I was walking on the treadmill for about an hour crying, watching all the TikToks of all the maid of honors talking to their about their sisters.
You were exercising while you were having.
I was feeling antsy last night, and I like wasn't on my Saturday night, wasn't ready to go to bed at 10, and I was like, I'm just gonna go downstairs and walk on the treadmill. But I went through like a rabbit hole of TikToks of like sisters saying speeches, and basically like the whole like, hope you have as much fun growing old with them as you did have growing up with me. And like I was like, and the camera was like, and the gym was like on me, and I was like, yes,
That's a very wholesome way
yeah.
to deal with heavy emotion.
Yeah, it actually felt so nice.
Yeah.
Good.
And then another line that really got me was like when you feel like you lost yourself, but then you look at your sister, and that's like how you find yourself again. I was like,
That's
cheesy,
adorable.
but it's true.
That
It
is so
true.
adorable.
Shout out Sophia.
Love you,
Shout out
Casey. Casey's like, you never
Shout out
talk about me
Kate.
on the podcast. She's like, you must love your little sister more.
Well, and draw, what's the at, more importantly?
That camera at the gym is a vulnerable spot.
Yeah, I mean,
facing
I was
the
in
treadmill.
corner too, and I was like,
Yeah.
crying.
I'm sweating
I was
through
nervous
my
that
eyes.
my security guard in my building would like come in and be like, is everything okay?
Oh
Like,
shit.
he didn't, though.
They're not actually watching. Let's be honest.
yeah, it's true. Actually, yeah.
It's all for show.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry you didn't have a good week.
It's fine. I'm happy now. Good.
Really convincing.
Yeah.
I'm sandwiched between some of my favorite people.
Aw.
Aww.
Okay, your turn.
Okay, Natalie, you want to go?
It's my turn.
Yeah. Do you want to?
Okay.
This I know what the story is because I lived through this, and just wait, you guys. It's so funny.
The other day, my twin sister Sophia with an F was
Just to differentiate.
There is a difference. She was getting drinks with an old friend, and prior to the drinks, they'd gotten dinner, Italian, of course. You know, can't go wrong. And as they were pulling up to the bar, quite literally had just arrived, and they were walking in. She's like, "Something is wrong here." And she tells him, literally, they walked in and, ooh, something's not okay. The bubbling, all of it.
Sophia.
Right. And she was like, excuse me, I'm just going to run to the little, ladies' room real quick. No, it was not quick. I get a call. I'm at home.
Trigger warning. Trigger warning.
Trigger warning. I get a call. All I hear is this. I'm like, Sophia, hello. She wouldn't answer. I started to get mad. Like, she would not respond. And she would just slip out little words like, not good.
Marinara.
And it turns out that she was having explosive. If you know the spot in LA at the El Prado bathroom. So there's very few places you want to have explosive. This is one that you really don't want to have explosive at. People were rattling on the doorknob, you know what I mean? The whole 9 yards.
Poor girl.
In any case, she said, and I quote, this is TMI perhaps, she said, it's like oil. It's just like oil. Okay.
And the vinegar came later.
It's just oil. And she said, you need to come pick me up right now. I was all in bed. I was reading.
Was she with her family and other people? Or
Just
No, he was just out there like, and she was either like,
oh, you have the sweats. We always talk about that.
Wait, can I ask a
said,
question?
yes.
So you're identical twins.
We are.
So you share a lot.
You're a twin and you're a twin.
I did not know you were
The
a twin.
rumors are true. Yeah, but he's fraternal.
Still.
Yeah. We're still
Fraternal twins are twins too.
You know what?
She
that gave
is
me
only
shivers.
saying that to your face because behind your back, she's like, real twins aren't real twins.
Stolen
No,
valor. Yeah.
no.
But okay, so as a twin, have you ever experienced just oil? Because you share the same gut. You know what I mean?
We do have the exact same gut. It is. Have I experienced oil in my life?
Yeah.
I've experienced oil.
Okay, I
love some oil.
Have you?
Here we go again.
Have you experienced oil?
Yeah, and I scream, "Mom!"
Right.
Like, you know, it just comes out. Like, it's like a childhood thing. Like when you like fall down, you're like, "Mom!"
Yes.
So like when you're like having the sweats,
Like,
you're like, "Mom!"
Yes. Yeah.
I just wanted some genetic component, maybe is explaining the oil or something.
When one has oil, the other probably is having
Yes.
oil.
Close behind.
Like your
Yeah,
umbilical cord
the
is
ghost
pulling.
bubble gut was
Yeah.
right. But anyway, so yeah,
my
she
feet are
told
in
me,
the
yeah,
camera.
she was profusely sweating. She said she was bare ass cheeks on the floor. She said she sat on the
She had to
floor.
get, like, naked.
She was literally just okay, not well, and she was like, "Natalie, I'm gonna pass out." Anyway, so I head over there to get her. I'm parked outside. This girl comes out. Her hair. Oh my god. Her hair is like this.
For those of you that are just listening, it's
Bless
like
you.
up in one angle, down in another.
It was a disaster area. Okay, she had like a half up, half down with a bun. The bun was over on the right side of her head. She was paper white. I'm not exaggerating. There was not a shred of color on her lips.
She's gonna listen to this and be like, "What the fuck?"
She came out. It was so much worse than I could have imagined. Her coming out to the car, it looked serious. Okay, it was very bad. She looked like she was hit by a bullet train. All right, and she tells me when she gets in the car to drive, and she said she walked by the guy she was getting drinks with. She didn't even look at him. She said she didn't stop either. She just walked by. She said, "I don't feel good. I have to go," and left. And we went home,
You
and
picked her up.
that was that. And
That's beautiful.
she was very embarrassed when she came back too, right? 'Cause she wasn't really with us.
right.
After the experience.
She
And
says
still to this day, she hasn't been this.
never came back.
never quite recovered.
She said it was the mushroom.
Yeah, she thinks it was the mushrooms. I patted her on the back. It was soaked. Okay.
Ew.
So yeah, bad night.
Bad night.
Anyway.
Girl.
Yep. And that's not the first time.
Yeah.
Right.
And that happens every night.
Right.
Yeah, that was.
So there's that one.
They FaceTime me after, and Sophia's laying face down on her bed, and she's like, "I'm so embarrassed."
Not good.
Not good.
Well, what's yours?
Well, mine is not funny, actually,
That's fine.
at all. It actually.
Well, the other story was serious. I didn't think it was any.
Right.
Right.
There's nothing funny about
Right.
that one.
Well, Sophie's was the funniest so far.
Whatever.
I was driving home. When was this? Like, was it yesterday or the day before?
I'm not sure what you're getting at yet.
Oh. I think. What, you can't read my mind? I think it was a couple days ago. And I'm driving home, and I'm on this 3-lane high-speed road. I don't know if it's a highway. I don't know. Like, they're all categorized differently. I don't know. Like,
Land the plane. Just kidding.
so he's in a bad mood today.
No, I'm just a little claustrophobic in here.
Wow. Okay.
I'm just kidding. Okay, so I'm driving home. I'm in the far right lane. The other, like, there's no traffic. All the lanes are moving freely. The speed limit is 55, and I am going 65. Okay, so I'm going 10 over. I'm going over the speed limit. And all of a sudden,
This is recorded, right? Okay.
yes,
No,
yep,
joking.
yes, exactly that.
Just publicly admitting
No, yes,
to that. Yeah.
absolutely. So if you're a cop,
Yeah.
maybe just go ahead and turn this off now. And don't look at my parking ticket records either. So I look behind me, and all of a sudden there's a car like eating my ass. Okay, like practically touching my bumper.
Yummy.
And I'm like, weird.
Oil.
I look down at my speed limit. I'm like, yeah. I look down at my speed limit. I'm like, okay, I'm going 10 over. And the lanes next to me are open. I'm like, I don't know why this car is behind me. And then he starts to beep at me. And I'm like looking like, what? What am I doing wrong? Like, I'm going 10 over again. Like, go around me. Like, what?
Right.
And I'm in the far right. Like, I'm not
Which
even in
is
the fast
slow
lane.
lane.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that.
And he's just beeping. And I'm just ignoring him completely because I'm like, I don't really know what this guy wants. And then I look up again, and he's filming me now. He now has
my
his phone on the
gosh.
dashboard and is like, go, like filming me and making this like go with his hand. And I'm still just ignoring him because again, I'm like, I don't know what you want from me. He then puts his hand on the horn, just lays it on, like beep, not taking his hand off. I'm still so confused. I still just continue on my way because I don't know what you want me to do. He eventually cuts around me, comes right in front of me, and then slams on his brakes, comes to a complete stop.
That's so dangerous.
A complete stop to the point where his wheels went, and then my car stopped short right behind him, and then the car behind me
Could have hit
almost
you.
hit me.
Yeah.
And
What
I
an asshole.
still don't know what his problem was
To this day.
to this day.
Can I say something? This reminds me. Have you ever seen, like, some people will post this on TikTok or whatever? There's like an insurance scam where people will, because right, the person who hits you
Yeah.
from behind is the one who's
Ends up paying.
what's the
gotten
word?
that money.
Liable. Yeah, so they've been running a scam where they'll
for the
go
person
in front of
behind her.
you and they'll abruptly stop so that you hit them. And then some people have dash cams and they'll notice and then they'll like speed away or whatever. But I don't know. But then I don't know why he would be attracting attention to himself that
Right,
way.
the recording adds a whole wrinkle
right?
to it all.
I
Yeah.
just really don't. I really,
That's
really
really weird.
don't know. Don't know why he didn't go around me. Don't know
We'll
why.
check your car after the podcast and see if there's like
Yeah.
a creature underneath
we
or
gotta,
something.
I know. Well, that's what I was thinking. Like, is there something on my car?
Good track.
But then the
But-
aggression doesn't explain.
Yeah,
People.
Well, he's a man, so that's
exactly.
the explanation.
And men are always right.
And anger's justified. Is what we're
Exactly.
also going here.
Exactly.
That's
But
crazy.
yes, once again, like if you are a cop, go ahead and skip that part.
Sorry.
But yeah, those are our voice memos.
Those are good.
Quite the week. We all had very different
Very different.
weeks. It appears.
This is so fun having everybody.
I know. I love it. I love it.
This is
Well,
my bad side though, so I'm not loving.
Oh no, I have
Right.
my bad side all the time, but
Yeah.
I do it for her.
Yeah.
oh, we can switch.
We do it for you.
let's flip flop every week.
No. I look great either way.
I love being fair.
Ooh, there's some Stevie hair in here. Extra protein.
Perfect. Well, should we get into the heavy stuff?
Yeah, let's get into it.
Well, I was gonna maybe a good segue is we were talking about TikTok scam, right? And something I want to know if you guys have seen this on TikTok because I know we were gonna talk about like OCD, also
Yeah.
our OCD, which is relationship OCD. Have you guys seen on TikTok either TikToks of ROCD?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And what do you guys think about like people self-diagnosing via TikTok and maybe even
my God.
outside of that,
that's interesting.
right? Like, have you seen? Do you guys know like the Wonderland system?
No.
Okay. Have you guys heard of DID, like dissociative
Yes,
identity
uh-huh.
disorder? So that's
Yeah.
when people after experiencing like horrific trauma,
Yeah.
right, your ego splits up into different alters, right? And so the idea is it's almost like a protective mechanism, and so you can have different alters right in the body. But what is kind of happening on TikTok is people are, and again, some people might say that you shouldn't speculate on the veracity of someone's diagnosis, but I would argue that it's just as maybe dangerous to not sort of have
Yeah.
these conversations. A lot of young people online are claiming to have DID.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of TikToks of people, being like, "Hi, I'm John," and like, "Hi, I'm Mary," right? And so something that I've seen, I don't know if you guys have seen this, is there's sort of this like propensity for people online to glob onto certain diagnoses. And I guess the question I would pose to you guys is like, why do you think saying that you have OCD or again, not to say that these things aren't real
yeah.
and people suffer from them,
course.
but why might some be more sticky than others? Why might people want to say that they have
So interesting.
ROCD? Why might people want to say that they have DID?
Maybe
Yeah.
it feels like validating that they like can self-diagnose, be like, oh, this is why I am the way that I am. You know what I mean? So it feels like comforting almost. And like sometimes you're like, oh, there's an answer for why I do this. Oh, my gosh, I feel
Yeah.
better now. Like that uncertainty of like why I am the way I am is like could be almost even more scary than the diagnosis
Right.
itself. So I think like people want to feel like relatable and like, oh, well, if this person feels that way, like that makes sense because I think I'm very similar to them.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'd say it's kind of like when you look up your symptoms and suddenly you have cancer, right?
Right.
I think
Yeah.
a lot of symptoms apply to, multiple, what could be disorders. And as soon as someone maybe sees a few that remind them of some of the things they experience, speaking to Sophie's point, they glom onto it for the sake of being able to identify what's wrong instead of living in that mystery.
Yeah, I think too, like, because like you just said, I think probably within the list of symptoms are a few that are probably very common just with every sort of mental anything, whether it be like anxiety, depression, things that are maybe more common. And so they like hear, oh, that's a symptom, I must have it. But without realizing that with a lot of mental illnesses, it's like a checklist almost. Like you have to hit a certain criterion of like this many apply to you and then you can reach the diagnosis. And I think that's maybe where it comes from, is there's probably like a common symptom within the list. And they're like, oh, well, I experienced that, so then I must have this illness.
Or someone's just sharing a limited like glimpse into some of the symptoms that might feel more relatable to a mass audience. Like, you know, a lot of people say I'm bipolar without understanding bipolar isn't just having ups and downs and highs and lows. There's mania involved. Obviously, you know, it's a much larger mental health issue than having periods of, you know, sadness and periods of happiness. So I don't know, maybe because TikTok is short form, these things are simplified to become digestible. And so people are digesting it in a way that isn't correct, I suppose. I don't know.
No, yeah. I think that's a good insight. And I mean, going sort of to like diagnosis, so all three of you are #OCD survivors?
I'm not.
Oh, okay. Well, that's the medical
I do
term
not
that we
have
use.
that diagnosis. Just depression and anxiety. But
I can talk about mine.
yeah,
And let's
go.
Well, actually very interesting, which is also why it's nice to have you on too, because I was diagnosed with it's called PANS now, which you can talk about. We were actually both diagnosed with the same thing around the same time. I was 6 years old when I was diagnosed with PANS, which you can explain.
Yeah. So basically, it used to be PANDAS, which was pediatric autoimmune neuropsychiatric disorder associated with streptococcus, which is a long mouthful, basically, which means that.
I'm like nervous to talk about it.
Really?
My heart. Yeah, it's something like I think that used to like was so stigmatized. Sorry to cut you off.
No, please.
But was so stigmatized, and when I was younger, I felt so like alone in it, and it was like it felt like a big thing that I like had this diagnosis when I was younger, and like we can talk about like I went through like rounds of IVIG and stuff for it. But now it just has like become a part of my everyday, and I've grown out of it in a lot of ways, which we can get into. But it's so interesting to like talk about.
that,
I don't know. I've never like I don't really
physical
tell a lot of
response,
people about it, so I don't know. I'm like
I didn't know. I'm about to learn this for the first time.
No, yeah, I think it's a vulnerable thing. I think it's also, again, because it presents itself in childhood, and so it's something where, you know, even I'm like, I don't know if I identify with having that or how much, you know, do I do, and to your point, you're talking about like growing out of it. But to jump in, basically what it is the thinking is when you're a kid, have you guys ever had like a strep throat?
No,
I have not.
But a lot of my friends did.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my God, good luck. Yeah. Well, so basically the thinking is you get strep, and your body, instead of fighting just the strep, it experiences something called autoimmunity, where it's fighting yourself.
Same with type 1.
yeah.
Oh,
That's what happens,
there you
yeah.
go. Right. So it's an autoimmune disorder. And basically there's specifically their area of the brain called the basal ganglia, which is associated with movement and sort of like repetition as well. I think is like a way to distill it. And so what ends up happening is your body starts to attack this structure of the brain, and that manifests as OCD-like symptoms, tic symptoms, right? And what separates...
I know lots of
Did you have tics?
She does.
You do have
I
tics.
did and I do.
Do you want to display one for us? Or?
Yeah, can you demonstrate?
No, I wasn't like, can I finish, please? I was like, please, tick for us. Yeah, okay.
Tick for us. Tick for us. Tick for me.
No, yeah. No, but so what separates it from sort of just typical OCD or typical tic disorder is its acute onset. So it's like an overnight practical thing of, you know, your kids act normal and then suddenly they're, you know, refusing to eat something or suddenly they're walking on their toes, right? And so it's that flip that makes
like,
it unique.
holy shit. When she saw me do my first tick, she was terrified, like, and then she like obviously did more research and specializes in OCD too, but as a psychologist. But yeah. So it went basically around the same time, or did it happen to you first?
I think I really don't know the timeline. I think like I was shown, not to be like, I had it before it was cool. But I think I had it before it was cool. And then I think our moms, they're both psychologists. And so I think
our moms are sisters and psychologists.
So we're knowledgeable about it and kind of were looking into it. And it seemed,
and I think me knowing that, because you were such like a brother to me, growing up, like knowing
past tense was weird, but
still is. But like you also being diagnosed with the same thing, I felt like so much more like, oh well, Max has it, like, he can go through it, like whatever. But I like, sometimes my mom asks me if like I was aware of it, and like I do remember obviously a lot of it. I think it started with physical tics, so like I started by like jumping over doors, like doorways, and so my mom started to make like obstacle courses. I had like evenness, like if I touch this, like I had to touch this leg, but then it starts to like take over your everyday. So with your friends, you're in class, whatever, it becomes noticeable, and it's like it feels like a little embarrassing, I guess, but you literally can't help it. But yeah, I had strep, and I guess it went to my brain. Is what my mom,
right, and I think you sort of, I mean, I don't want to use the word beautiful, but you beautifully explained, I think, the distinction between OCD as, which probably you can speak to more than me, as a disorder versus, you know, just having some light sort of anxious thoughts, right? What you're describing is your, so in OCD, there's obsessions and there's compulsions, right? And you actually, most people have both. You really only need one to meet the diagnostic criteria. But basically, so it's basically, have you ever heard pure O? That's when you just have the obsessions.
Oh, okay.
And so obsessions are, you have thoughts, it's called ego dystonic, which basically means they're like, it almost feels like they're not of your own. You don't want to have these thoughts. Right?
I used to feel like a monster would like take over my brain and like make me do things, and then after I'd be like, holy shit, that's not me. Because like, besides like physical tics, like I had like facial tics, which I still do sometimes, especially when I talk about it, it will show up, or if I'm anxious, it comes out more. But if, what was I saying?
You were saying that it's their thoughts that you don't want.
Wait,
a tick monster.
That was like a live moment of your brain, like you like distracted yourself.
Well, I was thinking about how it was about a tick.
Yeah.
Like when I'm anxious, it's like all consuming. Wait, what did you just say that I said?
Now I'm
I'm
blanking.
like,
I mean, no, we were talking about how they're not of your own. They're thoughts, they're obsessions that you don't want.
Right. So besides like tics for me, it was also like frustration with my parents, even though like I had a great relationship with them, but I would become like almost like angry and frustrated and yell, which was not me. Like I would never do that to like teachers or parents, like friends or friends' parents or whatever. Like I was always like the angel child, whatever. But with my parents, I couldn't control it. And I remember like having those frustration issues with my mom. And then all of a sudden, like I would take a step back and be like, what the fuck? That wasn't me. Like I literally felt like something like took over me, and it was like all consuming, and like it felt not Sophie. And it was really, really weird and scary. But they prescribed, I guess, because when it first was I was first diagnosed IVIG treatment, so I went through several rounds of IVIG treatment.
What is IVIG treatment?
So it's basically they take, my understanding is limited, but I think they take, it's almost like a vaccine that they do through an IV, and I think they derive it from other people's blood. So it's basically like healthy people create all of these like
other people's blood in me.
I think I could be wrong, but it's something basically other people have had this immune response, and it goes through you.
Like I guess get rid of the tics or something.
Oh, okay.
It makes it so that you are less. I think there's twofold. There's like an anti-inflammatory response, and also I think it makes it so that you're less likely to get sick. And the thinking with pandas is the mechanism that makes these symptoms flare up is inflammation caused by infection or viruses.
The gluten causes inflammation. So anything that can reduce any of that inflammation in my brain helps with like my tics and OCD and stuff like that. Which like I don't always get into when people are like, "Are you celiac?" Like, hard to explain.
Yeah.
But the IVIG, I remember I would like in 5th grade, I would go on the weekends and sit there for 5 hours because it takes 5 hours to take drip. And I remember being such like a young kid with this needle in my arm, and I'm I don't know. It was. I still remember, and it feels traumatic to it in a sense where I'm just like, I would always tell my mom like, why me? Like,
And did it help? Or is it hard to say?
it's hard to say. I think I think it's changed. Like all my tics and OCD has changed throughout the course of my life as I've gotten older. I think now more it is mental OCD. I have less physical tics, but yeah, it's definitely like changed.
Yeah.
A lot.
That's so interesting.
So interesting.
But I want to ask you, Natalie, if you're like open to it, like with, we're talking about like obsessions of like unwanted thoughts, like were there any common ones that like came up for you when you were younger, or ones that you still like grapple with?
When I was younger, it manifested in a way that it doesn't manifest, or it hasn't since, I don't know, middle school. But I was like hypochondriac.
Right.
And had a horrible fear of separation. Just like always thought I was dying and could not be away from my parents without
That was like Jolie, my sister's same thing.
triggering what now I realize were full-blown panic attacks where I'd almost pass out on, you know? I remember always saying, I feel like everything isn't happening.
Oh, wow.
And I think I was, what's the word, depersonalizing on like a daily basis.
Wow.
But yeah, it was incessant. And the fear that I felt when I thought I had, which feels silly, of course, to think about now, and I know people are hypochondriacs now, and that fear when you have convinced yourself that you have something was worse than any fear I think I've ever felt since. Which is so funny because there was no evidence for that fear to exist.
But that's actually really common, is almost everyone with first of all, contamination OCD is the most popular sort of like thematic presentation. And so it's very common. I think it's like 20% of people with OCD have contamination. And then I think the other one that maybe follows that is checking. So that's like, making sure that the stove is on, back and forth. But to sort of validate your experience, it's not silly, or everyone with OCD says sort of it feels silly.
Right.
It's ego dystonic. You know that belief that it's not true, right? And so there's this tension between you of going, well, I know just because, I touched the gas, it doesn't mean that, now I have some STD.
Yeah.
There's a part of you that feels that, and that must be so
it's
frustrating.
bizarre.
Yeah.
I talk about it all the time. Like there are two separate parts of me, and one of them has, is easily able to distinguish what is reasonable versus what is not, but I still cannot separate myself from the thoughts I have. I also had a OCD in a more, I guess, not tic-like manner, but in a more compulsory way, wherein I had to read every single sign I passed. And if I didn't read it in time or whatever, I would freak out. I actually remember one time in an airport, there was a wall, and in flowers, something was written, but we were, I was with my mom, so we were running to get to the flight, and I didn't get to read it. And I remember that tortured me for weeks. Or I'd also have to step on leaves, like if they looked crunchy. I know,
do that.
right, again, it seems so silly.
Did you have where you felt like if you didn't read the sign, like something was gonna happen?
No.
Because I would, that's so interesting,
No.
because I would have
Right.
that,
No.
but that means like if I didn't read it, then my mom was gonna die.
No, I didn't have those sorts of fears. I just it was like an itch, like I needed to read it. I don't know how to.
No, absolutely. No, that's the compulsive side of
and I
of
also
OCD.
thought food was poison sometimes, so I wouldn't eat food that I didn't get from home.
Interesting.
So it was a bunch of different things.
But now it presents entirely differently.
Yeah. Well, I think I've grown out of a lot of those things. So the hypochondria I've grown out of, thank God, because that was probably the worst iteration I've experienced. I just could not function normally. I was always calling my parents to pick me up from school because of an ache or a pain, and I needed to go home.
Can I ask, what do you think contributed to you growing out of that? Did you have a different mindset? It just sort of naturally shifted?
Yeah, I mean, I think I just grew out of it. I think I got older and just recognized that, those were just, it
Do you
wasn't.
think the brain develops? Because for me, I also, when I grew up, it changed. It manifests in a different way too, but I wonder if there is like...
I think OCD does change within people often, yeah?
Yeah, and I mean, I can speak to that a little bit. So, a lot of people who have OCD, there's a heightened like threat detection, right? So you are hyper vigilant to, this food. Oh my God, it's poisoned, right? And so how you inhibit sort of those intrusive thoughts is usually the rational side of our mind, right? And we're saying, well, okay, what are all the reasons why it's not poisoned? Well, one, nobody really cares about me. You know what I mean? Two, I don't know, I just saw my mom make it.
Yeah.
And so that part of your mind, the more rational centers, takes time to develop. And so, again, this is not to say that there are people who still will have the same exact thing, but that could explain some of the growing out of it is you're able to generate all of those alternative hypotheses as to why that's not really happening.
Yeah. It's such a weird mental health disorder because it's one where you are so aware of how not real it is. But you still cannot pull yourself away from the thoughts. It is so funny in that way because it's not as though you're in a state of psychosis at all. Like, you are fully aware.
Right.
And that's what makes it so frustrating and scary, and it feels like there is no escape.
Something that I've noticed that you do as someone, like dating someone with OCD, is she always has to have a reason or explanation for everything. So if she's making a decision about something and she has a passing thought, that thought has a purpose and reason, and she gets stuck on like a passing idea. So whereas like my brain, as someone without OCD, I'd have it like, oh, maybe like this factor is going to be a little bit tough or whatever. Her brain will get stuck on it and be like, I think I'm making the wrong decision. I think that this is the wrong direction. Like, it becomes this huge theme rather than just a quick passing thought. And that's something that I've noticed as your partner, is that happens a lot, where you get stuck on certain thoughts.
Yeah, and that's how it's changed over time. Sorry to be taking up
No, please.
all that talking time, but it took time for me to recognize. It's so funny that you mentioned our OCD because I had talked about it already, but it has now changed and manifested. It manifests in all kinds of ways. Like, I obsess about a sound in my truck and be like, what is that? I need to fix it. I can't sleep until it's fixed, just because it drives me crazy. But, in a more, I suppose, complex way, is relationship OCD is something that I'm struggling the most with right now, I'd say, and have been for some time. It took me years to realize that I was struggling with that because I started to recognize patterns. When I was dating every single partner, I would have the same thoughts. But it took me until meeting Soph, unfortunately, within probably the last year, where I realized what was going on.
You got like some more, you've been starting to get.
Yes, I have. And I don't, where does my OCD come from? Not sure. Maybe it was being gay as a little kid and knowing something was wrong with me. And maybe it was, definitely was, my parents, love them, both amazing people, have always had a very tumultuous relationship. And the arguing between the two of them was aggressive and incessant. And I do believe a lot of my mental health issues likely came from that.
So something that we do, first of all, this is really like cool and valuable that you're, I think, being so vulnerable and open and like talking about this. I think people are going to
relate to
it and get a lot from it. Thinking about, right, like, I guess two things are coming up for me. One, when Soph said, when you have a thought or there's ambiguity, that's sort of what you hold on to. That's like the definition of like ROCD, is not being able to live with the ambiguity of, is this the right person for me?
Yes.
Right. And so second, to sort of address you saying, where's this OCD coming from? So we know that heritability, so how much of this disorder is explained by genetic factors, is around 40%. So 40% of, we could say that around 40% of your OCD, right, is a result of just genes, right? And then you're also talking about, so what's the 60%? Lived experience, right? Or
childhood.
Right. And so then you're talking about maybe having this tumultuous
Yes.
relationship. And something that is, I mean, I don't want to like put a label on you, but usually individuals who might experience that type of parenting might have like an anxious attachment style, and those individuals with an anxious attachment style are more likely to have ROCD. So I don't know, just
puzzle piece.
No, I know it's so and I have an identical twin sister who grew up obviously in the precise environment, and she did not struggle with these
right.
things.
And that goes back to okay, there's that. We have a beautiful twin study that
Yeah.
shows the 40% heritability. There's something
Nurture versus nature.
Right.
Nature versus nurture.
What did I say?
Nurture versus nature.
we could do whatever. They're
Either one
always
works.
fighting.
I'm sorry.
Nancy here.
Right.
so-
Working on it. Working on it.
Kicking in. You.
Something
on
that I mean, maybe I want to ask is, so what is a common trigger for like an obsessive thought that you might have that has to do with like, oh God, is this the right religion?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Where do I start? If we disagree on something, it's again back to the OCD thing. I'm so aware of how silly it is, but because my parents had such a broken marriage, the only examples of and I'll get back to your question.
No, please.
The only examples I had of a romantic relationship were my parents, which was awful, or what I saw in movies, which was happily ever after. There's never another right.
Yeah.
There's no problems when you know you know. So I started to grow up with still no other examples of anything in between that. And I think that started to develop a fear around relationships, because I would fear becoming my parents or fear not having that perfect relationship. So it's...
Can I also say something? It's interesting. I think, you talked about being gay, and I think that's probably not the sort of the origin of the OCD, but to your point of what are we using as reference points for what should relationships look like, right? And most of it is heterosexual, right, relationships, and they're perfect. But then also, if we're thinking about queer relationships, I think for the most part, what's depicted also is really positive, because I think we're kind of doing a lot of work, in the culture to try to normalize, just gay relationships.
Yeah.
But I wonder maybe if a consequence of that is you haven't seen an example of two women who have like a human relationship, and maybe the limited, media that you have is maybe even just as perfect as the like Disney princess stuff, or maybe even more perfect. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, totally. I think there were two major things in my adolescence that I could not control: my parents' relationship and my sexuality. And that lack of control in those two very important things, I couldn't handle it. And I think all of this just came from that, because I was aware. Of course, I was 6. I can recognize like the first signs of being attracted to girls, but of course at that age I didn't know what that meant.
Can I what was like? Do you guys have any fun like? You're attracted to like Impossible or something?
Let me think on that. Oh well.
That came quick.
I'm like, wait. One of my brother's ex-girlfriends was my heart and soul.
Scandal.
Yeah. I thought she was the coolest thing ever. She was like skater girl vibes. Like,
Oh, you can
Say less.
skater girl vibes.
she was perfect.
What about you?
What about you? Penny from Hairspray?
Oh yeah.
Are you kidding? Stop.
Yeah.
And also Sarah Michelle Gellar in Scooby-Doo 2 live action movie.
Ooh, good.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, it's so funny because were you there? We were at Rosh Hashanah last week, and we were like playing this game again. I just like to know people's intimate secrets. And I was saying that one of my first crushes was Amanda Bynes from She's the Man.
Oh,
Yeah.
Because I was like, well, I'm a boy and boys like girls, and so it was like this social affordance where I was allowed to be attracted to her, and I wasn't like a bad person.
Oh, yeah,
You know what I mean?
interesting,
And
yeah.
it's funny because I think there must be overlap, and I haven't like read the literature on this, but with like OCD and growing up gay, like I would again, I don't think I have full-blown OCD, but we all have these types of thoughts.
Sure.
I remember in middle school, I don't know, maybe this will expose, maybe I do, I rethink it, but in middle school I would like walk down the stairs and be like, if the number of stairs are even by the time I'm down here, I'm bi.
Yeah.
I'm bi.
Interesting.
But it's fine, because at least I'm bi. Yeah. Or if it's So I don't know, there's something there of, I think, again, like rejecting these thoughts or these taboo thoughts or not wanting them.
Totally.
And that's something that's also similar with OCD that I think goes back to the relationship aspect, is they're often thoughts that are like really intense and we don't want them. So a lot of the times people will be like, oh, like maybe I'm a serial killer. Oh my God, the fact that I'm thinking about it means that I am. And so I'm sure for you, one of, a great travesty would be like, this relationship is bad.
Yes.
And so, but because it's this big thought, we're going to then engage in all these compulsions to try to get rid of it.
Yes.
Or because when we're young and little, we're like, we don't want to be gay, we're going to engage in these concocted, illogical compulsions to get rid of it.
Right.
Totally.
And so I want to then kind of ask, do you find yourself looking for, a lot of the times with ROCD, for reassurance?
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, and what does that look like?
Well, I suppose one of my compulsions is to look it up on Reddit. If you know, you know. And just dump. I want to just get it off my chest because I feel guilty having those thoughts.
Talk about how when you don't say something that you're thinking about, you feel like you're lying.
Yes. No one needs to know these things. It's not affecting anybody.
Like,
but
everyone pause.
Yes.
You don't need it.
Like, I used to confess stuff to my dad, and he'd be like, okay. Like,
Right.
You know what I mean? Stuff that I, for whatever reason, felt was wrong inside. I needed to tell somebody about it. So, and I've learned as I've sort of, come to realize what I might be struggling with, that it is not fair to tell Soph about a lot of these thoughts. And in the very beginning, I would tell her in too much detail what I was thinking about. And for her, of course, it's hard to separate. She doesn't have ROCD. When I'm telling her these thoughts I'm having, she's going to take them personally. Even if I'm telling her, no, don't take it personally. It's just like saying, no offense, you're ugly. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not
You said
very
no offense in
helpful.
the
Right.
beginning,
Of
so,
course,
yeah.
she's been so patient, so understanding, and so absolutely wonderful to have by my side throughout this. But,
Can I add something?
And she's not even on the treadmill.
Yeah.
And she's crying.
baby steps.
We are still on
I
camera.
feel like I've seen your guys' relationship from the start.
I know.
It was honestly, it was such a mess at the beginning. I'm not even gonna lie. But we put all our cards out on the table, and now it's stronger than ever. And we did it backwards. The honeymoon phase is maybe now.
Yeah.
But I'm very grateful for having her. But yeah.
Can I say?
What I'm saying? I'm talking too much.
No, not at all.
No.
Yes.
You're
We wanted you
We're
guys
like,
here to
are
have this
guests.
conversation.
We are guests.
Me and Sophie are space fillers today.
They're moral support.
It's your talk.
But I was going to say, it's really beautiful to see you recognizing how engaging in that reassurance seeking
Yes.
can be the detriment of your relationship. And in a way, it's almost like this self-fulfilling prophecy, like, I wonder if this relationship isn't right for me. Okay, now I'm gonna do everything in my power to sabotage it.
Exactly.
And so there's two parts there. One is for Soph, but the other is for you. And so how people try to, I don't want to say treat, but to sort of lower the amount of distress that's caused by these obsessive compulsive patterns is to not engage in that reassurance pattern. So not only are you helping your relationship and you're being a good girlfriend to Soph, you're healing yourself.
Yes.
And so also I want to kind of offer maybe a middle ground, because I'm sure it can feel very lonely for you when you have a thought, right? And you're stuck with it and you're feeling guilty and all of that. And you're like, I don't want to bother Soph with that.
Yeah.
So something that some people do, might be helpful, I don't know, is if you, checked in and said, hey, Soph, I just want to let you know I'm, having a thought right now. I'm feeling a little anxious, right?
Yeah.
And Soph isn't going to come back and say, don't worry, baby, I love you. Or don't worry, is that what you say? Do you have a pet name? Or anything? No? Honey. It was don't worry, honey. Right? Because what that does is reinforces that pattern of, I'm insecure, I'm going to check in to reassure, Soph reassured, okay, everything's fine.
Yes.
But what you can say is, I'm proud of you, for not asking me anything. And I just want you to know that, I see you, and I'm sure this is difficult. And maybe later tonight, after work, we'll I don't know, get dinner together or something like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you're able to be compassionate without reinforcing those thoughts.
Yeah.
Right.
Something I've been doing recently is, and not just with the ROCD stuff, but also just with any of her thoughts that she's kind of getting stuck on is I'll just be like, your brain is trying to give reason to things that don't need reason. Like, let your thoughts. Is that like encouraging her, or is that?
Yeah, I think so. I think the line there is, it's helpful to say, okay, right now it sounds like maybe this is like the OCD talking, but any type of addressing that underlying thought would be fueling the fire. So for example, let's say if I came to you and I was like, I'm worried that like when we were at a dinner, you made a joke and I didn't laugh at it. And so now I'm worried that maybe fundamentally like we don't have the same sense of humor, and this means that like maybe we shouldn't be together and I'm wasting your time and you deserve someone different. If you said, honey, honey, don't worry, like you laugh at all of my other jokes, there are other examples of us being together, it's okay.
Interesting.
That's actually not helpful. That's actually feeding.
That's so insightful.
Right, and what you can say, right, because you don't want to be like a bitch and just be like, I'm not talking to you right now, you know what I mean? You're not speaking.
Right.
You can say like, you know, it sounds like you're having like an OCD flare-up right now, and I'm sure that is difficult or that's hard. I'm here with you right now, and I have faith in your ability to sit with this.
Yeah.
And I think something that it sounds like you're already doing, which is step one that I think most people, you know, get into, is the individual suffering from the ROCD is going to then come, I want to say clap back, but you're going to come back, and be like, oh no, just tell me that you think I'm funny, and like, right? Because with OCD, the thought is just as activating and alarming as the experience. And so I want to take this back to Sophie, is when, if we can talk about elevators for a moment. So
don't even get me
when you think, or I mean, do you want us to just say a little bit, or should I jump in?
You can.
Just basically, when you think of, I'm going to be in an elevator, and maybe I'm going to get stuck, it's not that Sophie's thinking, oh, maybe this might happen. You're physically feeling what it feels like to be stuck in an elevator in that moment.
Okay, so I actually, it's funny you say this. 2 nights ago, I have an elevator in my apartment, and I'm able to go in the elevator all the time because it's my elevator and it's very new. But the other night, my key fob didn't scan, and I was with Monty in the elevator, and it didn't open the doors, and my body physically, so I experienced physical anxiety with my fear of elevators. And I asked my mom, why did I feel that way? I have anxiety day to day, like general anxiety, but that is like my only part where I feel physical anxiety. And my mom was saying is because your body goes into survival mode right away. That's such a big fear of mine that automatically I felt heavy, shaky, my heart was beating fast, even though like we were fine. I just had to scan it again.
Right.
But it's a survival
Right.
thing,
And so,
right?
and so to take that back to sort of this dynamic that we were talking about, when you're feeling, I'm inventing some scenario that you didn't laugh at a joke that Soph made.
Oh, but that's happened.
Right, that's right. So
actually serious.
So when
That's horrible.
so when you were feeling, right, oh, maybe this means that we're not together, you're like feeling the feeling of maybe breaking up in that moment, and your heart is racing.
Yes.
And so it's so easy for most people to go, I don't care about you being helpful and not feeding this OCD cycle. I know it's OCD. I'm drowning right now, and I need you to reassure me. Because that's the only thing that works, right?
Yes.
And so it takes both parties, right? It takes you allowing Soph or the other person sort of the grace and opportunity to deny you the reassurance in that moment, and it takes Soph having the sort of constitution and bravery for not feeling bad.
Oh my god. That's gonna be hard because I'm immediately like must fix, must satisfy her itch.
A good analogy that I would like to use is your future daughter first day of preschool. Okay. First of all, what does she look? Oh, Paloma is there? Let's shout out Paloma.
Hey P.
Wait, we've come so far because talking about future kids with her would have
that you
would've
wanted
freaked me
the
out.
same way. And we actually, can I say something like that?
No, please.
Like,
As long as we get back to the metaphor eventually.
Like, like Monty is the same way of not being able to talk about the future, but one, he's like, it's bad juju, but two, like he has that fear of like, but what if I can't provide that for you?
Yeah.
And in my head I'm like, oh la-di-da, I already have like what house I'm gonna be in when I'm older, and I think we're very similar in that way. Like a natural disaster could happen, or we could break up, sure, that's fine, but like I like to just fantasize, and I used to take it as like, oh, he doesn't want to he doesn't want to be with me.
Because to her, it has to be the truth if she's saying it. Like if she says it, it's set in stone. If she doesn't do it, she's a bad
very
person.
black
like,
and white OCD.
Yes, very black and white.
And that's a conversation we had earlier in our relationship. Was I told her, like, because she'd been talking a lot about getting married and our future, and it was making me panic secretly. But I hadn't told her any of this yet, and I still didn't know what those feelings were. So I remember having a conversation with her, like, look, that's fun and everything, but it makes me really anxious because I can't guarantee that we're gonna stay together. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I needed her to know that I couldn't. It's very logical, right? I couldn't guarantee that to her, and so talking about it was making me very anxious.
And I would be like, duh. But can't we fantasize?
Right.
And that's the difference.
You're like, and we're in a castle, and we have white horses.
Right.
Exactly.
So, so back to fantasizing.
Yeah, what she would say is, it's just fun.
Yeah.
And to me, I couldn't grasp that because we take a thought that's passing for somebody else and we drill it home. Like, I cannot get it off my mind.
But to go back to little Paloma, so this was sort of for you, so to alleviate your guilt, is thinking about, okay, your daughter's first day of preschool, she's sniffling, she's crying, she doesn't want to go into class, right?
Auntie Sophie will take you.
Right. Okay, well, boom. Well, that's exactly the whole thing, right? You have an instinct to go into class,
like,
hold
I'll
their
be
hand.
breastfeeding a child. Right.
Well, and in class in front of the teachers.
Producing milk when Soph is pregnant.
And you should go and look away because I'm gonna be also breastfeeding off of Sophie. Okay.
Yeah, there you go. It's a train. It's beautiful.
My God.
But so you have an instinct, which Sophie, beautifully said, which was to be like, okay, baby, don't worry, mommy's gonna be with you the whole day. Well, what happens, on day 2? You go in again. What happens day 3? You go in again, right? So, you want to think of it not to be like you're her mommy, but in the same way that a parent will allow a child to sit in discomfort,
right?
Knowing that you're habituating them, you're getting them used to this stressor of school,
right?
You know that maybe not making Natalie feel better in the moment is for her long-term benefit. That's love, and that's love, and that's love, everybody.
And
that's
love. Cut.
That's how I think about Jolie, my little sister, all the time, because like her thinking of her experiencing heartbreak or homesickness at school kills me. Like, I feel like her mother, where I'm like, I need to go get her from school. I need to go visit her. But then when I'm like, wait, it actually helps me to help her also, is like, her experiencing this homesickness is going to help develop her into an individual human being. And like, I needed to go through homesickness in my college experience to be the person I am today. Yeah. And so does she. So it's so healing for myself, but I also know for her, it helps.
Totally. In first grade, my teacher and my parents teamed up, and my parents would push me in the room. She would hold me. They would close the door and leave. And I would scream and cry, but I wasn't gonna go home. My parents were not going to come back. And on mornings that I did well, I'd get a little check. And then if I did well for a certain number of days in a row, I got to go to the arcade with my dad.
So we'll start doing that. I'll give you a little
I went once. I made it to the arcade one time. But, yes. And, I'd call my parents, come get me. And sometimes they would, but usually they wouldn't. Yeah. And eventually I just had to, grow out of it on my own.
So I'll shut you in next time.
Right.
Shut you in those feelings.
Yes. But yeah, so some of the thoughts that will trigger me maybe we should talk about triggers.
Sure.
Yeah. Like you mentioned, she tells a joke that I didn't think was funny. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that will send me into a spiral sometimes. I remember early in our relationship, we had a disagreement about Taylor Swift.
What's there to disagree about?
I didn't even know we were having a disagreement.
No, and my crazy ass brain, my brain that I'm working on nurturing, my crazy ass brain took it and ran, girl. I mean, we were talking about Taylor Swift, and I think she's a capitalist, and sorry for all the Swifties out there. I think she had fossil fuels, the highest, like, fossil fuels emissions
Gassy
or something.
queen.
Yeah, right, with her private jet. Anyway, I was just talking about that and how I didn't think maybe she was the best person for those reasons. And Soph was saying, but she's an entertainer and she makes people happy, so, for that
But
reason.
also, I didn't realize we were having a serious discussion.
Yes.
Like, if we were going to be talking about, like, celebrities' impact on the world and things like that, I probably would have taken a different stance. But we were just, like, I don't know. I was
You're
just like...
still on the fence with the whole global warming thing. You're
Right,
like, I don't know.
right. I'm, like, not quite sure if it's real. Just kidding.
Just
Don't
kidding.
cancel me.
Just kidding. It's very real.
No, but I actually remember you telling me, like, Natalie, I was joking.
Yeah, I was like, I didn't know we were having a serious conversation.
Yeah.
Like, I was almost kind of like, what's the word? Like, I was kind of like annoying you on purpose.
Yes,
Like, but
you
she's a good person. Like, I don't know. I didn't know we were having a serious
her
talk.
up.
Yes, you were
Yeah.
just teasing me, but in my mind, I was spiraling deeper and deeper. Like, we disagree on this. We cannot be together. We are not compatible.
Yeah, you were like fundamentally.
Yes. So it's like if we have a giant blowout argument, it won't necessarily affect me as much as if like she thinks a comedian is funny who I think is totally boring.
Are you
And I'm
like basement yard? I love the basement yard.
We're just doing free shout-outs now? I don't understand. It's like...
But yeah, it's just those little things that no one else would think twice about that send me just
And can I maybe offer like a distinction, this also for all you listeners out there,
Right.
between a valid, maybe I shouldn't say valid, but I'm going to say valid, a valid, thank you, relationship doubt or like ROCD, or rather I'll reframe this with there are fundamental differences, and maybe this relationship either needs to be worked on or you need to break up.
Yes.
Or is it ROCD?
Yes.
A big distinction there is going to be if that issue is internal or external. So when I'm hearing you talking about this Taylor Swift difference, a lot of that's coming down to you internally going like, oh my goodness, this means blah, 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 blah.
This means we have completely different morals.
Yes.
Rather than, externally, I was having this conversation with Soph, about how this sad thing happened to me and I didn't feel supported. And this has happened like 4 times now. And I've explained to her I want her to show up differently and she hasn't. So that's about like a long period of multiple instances of an external problem that's going on between you. Whereas ROCD is going to manifest a lot of internally thinking, this means this, or I'm looking at a photo of us and I'm not feeling, the gooey feelings that I should be feeling, and then sitting in that and steeping in that.
Exactly.
Versus, Soph has, I don't know why you're always the bad guy, but Soph did this thing that's making me fundamentally feel whatever. So
Exactly.
if it's an internal versus an external, and also it is the severity requisite. So is that one joke maybe that you're not finding funny? Are you feeling an immense amount of guilt and shame that you're even thinking that and all of this? Or are those feelings, does it feel more proportionate to that action? And so if it feels like it's bigger than maybe it should be, that's probably pointing towards like an obsession.
Yeah.
Because I do, sorry to ramble on,
no.
but I do think it's really important. We started this conversation talking about TikTok and people self-diagnosing.
Yeah.
My answer to why might people really like this ROCD diagnosis is because I think a lot of people maybe are in relationships that actually are not fulfilling them, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's really important for people to know the signs of genuinely a relationship that's not serving them or this is OCD. And that's not to say that both aren't happening at the same
Right,
time.
sure.
There's tons of people who are doing both,
Yeah,
right?
totally.
But I don't want it to be, I think I've seen it thrown around as kind of this get out of jail
Yeah.
free card.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yes, that's definitely an important distinction to make is, do I feel safe in this relationship? Do I feel supported by my partner? And I'll list these things in my head. And it's across the board, like, yes. It's a very healthy relationship. Besides my, shit, it really is. She's a great person. We agree on most things. We have, the same goals and aspirations and, moralistic viewpoints and things of that nature.
Minus Taylor Swift.
But
One thing too is like having doubts in a relationship is so normal
that's
too,
another
and like
thing I wanted to
having like, oh, that bothered me is normal. Like having things to work on, having things that you don't love about the other person, like having things that grind your gears are all normal. And something I've noticed with her is she'll get stuck on them again and like I said, give reason to them. And so instead of it being like, oh, like they're really annoying me this week, like I've been feeling like more reactive and I'm just like, I want to be alone and this person like is bugging me this week. Like instead of it just being like that, it's I must be drifting apart from her. We must not be right.
Yes.
And it becomes this big thing.
Yes.
If you want to talk more on that.
Oh, totally. Yeah. My roommate yesterday was like, I was talking to my friend who's in her first long-term relationship, and she was telling me how she's a little bit sick of her boyfriend and wants some time apart. And my roommate was like, duh, girl, once you like spend a certain amount of time with someone, there are days and weeks where you just kind of want to be alone. But to me, I'm like, that means we're wrong. And that goes back to the fairy tale, like the movies. And my parents' relationship, I didn't know, it sounds crazy, but I did not know until
Stop
Soph.
saying that.
What?
Crazy.
I'm
The C
crazy.
word.
I am crazy. I didn't know until I started dating Soph that doubts are normal, that disagreements are sometimes actually a healthy aspect of a relationship, that not always knowing certainly that you know, feel 100% about a person all the time, like that is okay.
If someone tells me that they haven't had like an argument with their partner, I'm like, okay, something's wrong.
Yes, but I feel like we
Obviously,
don't.
there's a definition to argument.
Yeah.
Like, don't scream and raise your
Yes.
voice and
Of
yell.
course,
but
of
like
course.
a
Yes, but-
conversation
Yeah.
where you disagree.
Yes.
Being annoyed and
yeah.
like wanting time apart, and that's all so
Yeah.
normal. And then, but then of course, then you have to like touch on like, well, if it's happening all the time, like maybe you're not fine. Different discussion, but like, you know what I'm saying?
Next
Like,
episode.
yeah, next episode.
And Soph telling me all of those things is the first partner who didn't take it, I suppose, so personally, which, you know, it's hard not to. I probably would if the roles were reversed. But Soph, having such a good head on her shoulders, was able to sort of see where I was coming from and talk me off that ledge. I remember we had a really good conversation the first time I really told her what I was going through, because, you know, it got to a point where I needed to just explain to her that this was something I was dealing with.
Well, yeah, because at first I was just like, this girl's so hot and cold.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell?
Yeah, yeah. I found a balance since. Of course, I don't dump
Oh,
on her
yes,
the way that I used to. I'm just like, I'm having some OCD, and she's like, okay, and I don't get into the details. But
And then if I can jump in again,
Yeah.
maybe that's an opportunity that we talked about before. Is I'm having some ROCD, you don't go into the details, but you, Soph, can still be like, I'm sorry, you know, that that's stressful. Like,
Yeah.
I'm here for you. Again, compassion without reinforcing.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
But we see all over the TikTok. I see it triggers me all over the TikTok.
All over the
Right.
TikTok.
I'm getting up there. But we see on there all the time people talking about my boyfriend. I just knew the moment we met, and
Right.
you know, they'll say, if you ever feel this, then that's probably the wrong relationship. And it would send me, some of us have ROCD here.
We got to be careful what we're
Like,
posting.
if I
people.
watch that, I freak
Cheerleading.
out.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, I'm in the wrong relationship. I need to get out now. That's another thing of OCD is like, I need to leave now. You can't live comfortably in the
every
gray
relationship.
area. It's black and white.
And something else. Oh, sorry.
no, go
but
on.
something I really like interrupting you. Something else that's a good. I mean, this is kind of like a silly thing, but is it ROCD? Is it a fundamental difference? People with ROCD, after they make a hasty decision and they break up with someone, they still go, oh God, I don't know, was that a good decision? Should I have done that? Should I have not? And it actually doesn't feel right, satisfying.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, when you are obsessing over something for days at a time, that's probably not normal.
But what were you gonna say, Sophie?
Yeah.
Oh, just an extra add-on. I just remember, like, I would always tell my mom, like, why do I feel things so extremely deeply? And like, I used to say, like, my diagnosis of like OCD was like a blessing and a curse in a way, because I felt things so extreme. So like you were saying, you think of things, it's a passing, that's it. For you, it takes over your entire brain and thought and week. And I have the same thing with my OCD, where it would take up so much space. But I used to think of it as a blessing and a curse, because I'm so empathetic, means I've always talked about this, but it is true, like, the empathy I feel towards, if it's like my sister or my friends, is so extreme, and I love that about myself, that I care so deeply. But then on the other hand, like, it feels like a curse, because I'm like, why can't I be like other people and just like have it be a thought and that's it and move on? It's all consuming. So like, because like of my autoimmune and the inflammation in my brain, it like puts on this like red alert where it's
It's survival mode.
like 1,000, like, to the max,
Yeah.
instead of just like
SpongeBob with
Yeah.
the files burning.
Yeah.
But it's funny that you say that, because not to compare you to Kanye West, but Kanye West says that like his
God.
mental illness is a superpower, and talks about how that like motivates him to do things, right?
Yeah.
But like, I think
There is a superpower sense where it's like, there's also OCD that I think when people hear the word OCD, they think of like clean freak.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Well,
I definitely have a little bit of that too. But it is interesting. Some people are like, well, I like that I'm so organized and type A and like whatever. Like it makes me motivated. And
If
it
you
makes
like
me,
that you have OCD, you did not have OCD.
Yeah.
but I'm just saying, so there's so many different types of OCD. So
Yeah.
like that type of OCD, people see that as a blessing. But I don't really see being type A as such a blessing because it's all consuming in your brain.
Yeah.
Like you can't even like sit still without having to do something.
Well, I think two things. One, being industrious and type A and needing things to be orderly, right? That is OCPD, which is the personality disorder from OCD, which is different because that doesn't have, this food is poison, of the obsessions, the compulsions. It's wanting everything to be perfect. And so that's a personality disorder. That's different. But I don't know. I maybe not to like invalidate the OCD being debilitating, but when I think of Sophie's success with the cave and like all of that work, I go back to when you were, I don't know, in 3rd grade, right? And you were up until like 5 a.m. doing homework because you wanted to make sure that like the assignment was perfect because you were an A student, you got A's. And I think that...
I'm like, keep having me out.
but no,
4.0 everybody.
Yeah, thank you very much. But,
Berkeley graduate.
American Studies. But so... Again, that's not to take away from like that's horrible that you stayed up and did that.
Like
But-
I would have to reread. I don't know if you were like this, but like every line of the textbook. Wait, I have to reread it again. Like I could never get through a book. That's why I
Yeah.
honestly still don't read a lot because my OCD brain. Like, wait, but did I actually understand that? Or like,
Yeah.
wait, let me go back and then I have to reread that. If I don't read that, then my mom's gonna die.
And can you?
That's
and she's still
literally
here
it.
because you read it right.
Yeah, exactly. Thank God I read it right because she's still alive.
Right.
And so can.
Thank God I didn't step on the trash.
We'll talk
I was
later
about
after
to
this.
say
But
that
can-
one's a
Her
classic.
back is great.
Yeah.
Can we connect that maybe to the cave and the work that you do every day? And do you feel like there's a connection maybe with?
Yeah, well, I think like a big part of my OCD too is like perfectionism, and like I'd say I'm my hardest critic in everything, and I think, well, how do you think that it's manifested?
Well, you tell me. I think, right, with it's interesting because it could be, I mean, I'm not going to diagnose you right now, but it could be both, right, where it's like
You can diagnose.
OCPD or OCD. Both of it it's anxiety. The through line is anxiety, right?
Yeah.
Right, and so I think for Sophie, if there's a problem, it feels like it must be solved, and there's not an option for it not to be solved.
Yeah.
Whereas with me, I think maybe I'm too much in the other direction where I'm like, I should do this thing. Well, actually, I'm going to play video games for 4 hours and not like
It's
do the
almost
work.
like I used to say this to my mom, like I would have like my big to-do list of like probably the more important things I had to get done, and then I'd have like my extras, like call my grandparents, like blah blah blah, like write like make a birthday present or like write a card for my friends. That probably should go after like sending a letter to my employees. But it is for me, those extra things are like bigger. Like I have to do them. I don't know why.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think, again, in its relation to your work now, I think when there's a problem, you solve it.
Yeah.
And it's because, I think, unfortunately, the problem is all-consuming, that if you didn't solve this, problem of, I don't know, I'm trying to think, like, someone in the front desk, like, texted something random, if you didn't solve that, it's like you would sink.
Yeah,
But
it's almost like that's life or death.
Right.
And people see that, some people might see that as like a blessing that I'm like that and able to have a successful business because of that. But for me, I'm like, I'm drowning and it's all consuming in my brain and my brain won't shut up. And I wish I could lay in my bed and not have to do those little things that could probably wait till tomorrow. But again, it has to be done because in my head, it's red alert. Like,
Right, and so something, I don't know if we talked about this already, but exposure response therapy is basically
exposure therapy, yeah.
right, exposing yourself to that trigger of I don't know, I'm trying to think of like some made up thing, like someone at the cave ordered the wrong color balls. Okay, they're supposed to be red,
I'm
they're
like, well,
blue
they
balls.
wouldn't because I do it all.
Right, but so
I have control issues.
but so if what would feed that like obsessive compulsive cycle is the ball colors are wrong. Today, I must figure out solving this problem because if I don't, like, I'm fucked and nobody's gonna come, anymore. And so, the sort of the therapeutic way to work through that is like to sit with that discomfort and be like, you know what? I'm not gonna order new balls for a week, and everything's gonna be okay. And, right, but you have to. Okay, so this is, I don't know how long we want to still like go on this, but we're talking about anxiety. There's this classic sort of way to that I think is helpful to think about anxiety, which is phobias of animals. Are any of you guys afraid of like any specific animal?
Not animals,
Not
no.
to an extreme.
Not animals? Okay. Let's just go with the class. Sophie, no animals?
Alligators are freaky.
Okay, let's go with alligators. Let's say Sophie was afraid of alligators, and I wanted to get her over that phobia, over that anxiety, that fear, right? And I have her in a room, and I have her with a baby alligator, and it's safe. And you're in the corner, you're hyperventilating, you're panicking, right? You're stressed out. What would be your instinct to say to Sophie in that moment to try to help her, with that? What would you guys say?
You're safe. You're fine.
If it kills you, you're dead. You won't even know.
Okay, well, yeah.
Okay.
Right. So your instinct would be like, don't worry,
Yeah.
everything's okay,
Yeah.
take deep breaths, imagine your happy place, go on an island. And they've done these studies with people with not phobias of alligators, phobias of snakes, but what they find is that's not helpful. They still have the phobia of the snake. If you tell them to calm down, don't think about it, it's okay. And the only way for them to habituate to that anxious stimuli is to go through that cycle and have a panic attack.
Yeah.
And to see, I'm with the snake, I think the snake's gonna kill me, I'm freaking out, no one's helping me, and you get better.
And now you have evidence that you are alive.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's like me going in an elevator and then I go into the elevator, the door opens, I have evidence that I don't get stuck.
And that reminds me of this little OCD thing I have actually now. I have to know exactly what time it is before I go to sleep. I need to know the exact time. And something I've been doing to myself recently is like, I am not going to look at the clock. I will not be looking. It sounds so funny. And in the morning, I always forget. I'm like, it's going to drive me so crazy tomorrow. I'll never know what time it was for the rest of my life. There's no way I'll ever be able to find out what time it was.
I did that too.
And then I'll wake up and I won't think about it again ever. And then the next night I'll be like, oh, I didn't check the time last night. I didn't even care today.
Right.
It's so like,
It's
yes,
crazy
I'll
that people
force
don't
myself.
look
Like,
that way.
I will not look. I know.
I can't, because I think I'm the same way with my OCD too, and it's crazy that people it's not even a thought.
Yeah.
I was going to say, because I have a metaphobia, fear of vomiting. And so same, like, touching on that too, when I'm nauseous, panic. But once I actually throw up, I'm fine. I'm like, oh, okay. Okay, that was fine.
Throw up some more.
Hell no. See, you saying that, and I'm like,
Oh yeah, she
But, like,
panicked when she
yeah.
threw up that night.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that was so scary.
But anyway, that was like, when you were talking about that, I was just like, yeah, that's so true. Leading up to it, or when you're experiencing the trigger, it's like, holy shit, I'm going to die. And then once you get past it and you let yourself have that panic and then you get through it, you're like, oh.
Yeah,
okay.
and then I can also relate it to the ROCD is
Yeah.
like, I used to say, I need to be single because I need to figure like this stuff out about myself, etc. And then I had a therapist who told me once, she gave me this analogy that I thought was really wonderful and it's very simple. She said, you can read a manual on how to drive a car, but once you get behind the wheel, that doesn't mean that you'll be able to drive the car. You need to practice driving the car.
Right.
So
Soph's just practice is what it is.
exactly.
So I'm the dummy here.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought to myself, I have to be in relationships and work on this actively in the relationship to get over it. There's no other way.
It's like how I've been told by a therapist, there's no such thing as mentally preparing, because then once you're actually living through something that you try to, quote, mentally prepare for, everything you tried to work on, like, doesn't apply, because once you're actually there feeling the
so
actual emotions, you can't prepare yourself.
You must go
Yeah.
through it to get over it. There's no other way, which is actually a quote from a children's book. If you guys ever read it with the bears. But yeah, you gotta go through it to get over it. And I'm so glad that I have Soph to go through it with. I wouldn't want it any other way. And it's certainly very difficult, but I think recognizing it is the first step, and that already feels so much better. Like, this isn't just me.
And the fact that you're open and willing to sit in discomfort, and that you are open and willing to sit in discomfort, like that's it. You know what I mean? That's the progress.
Dating somebody like me is not for the faint-hearted.
and there's two of them.
Natalie, you're so great.
but really, I mean, it's hard for her too. And I think if I was dating somebody who was a little bit more insecure in certain ways, it wouldn't work. And not because
which
we're not compatible, but just because
So I was just gonna say, like, that could be an example of, like, if you have ROCD, it's almost this question of, like, is it ROCD? Is it the person?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, well, both. If you have ROCD, you need to be with someone who is patient, understanding, empathetic.
Yeah.
And perfect. And a girl named Sophie.
Beautiful.
And again, right? And if it's the right person or the wrong person in a relationship, you need someone who's empathetic, kind, all those things. And so, it's almost like, seems like you got that.
Right.
Yeah. And you know what? Relationships are not perfect.
That's what
You're going to have doubts.
Can
You're going to have disagreements.
I want to ask
was about
Sophie,
to
because
say.
she's kind of the
Oh,
queen
yeah.
of relationships.
Do you have these thoughts?
Oh my gosh, I think like people look at Monty's in my relationship and be like, oh my god, you've been together with your high school sweetheart for so long. Like, we've gone through so much shit and trauma, and like, I think in our personal lives, trauma, and also together. But it is interesting because, well, there is something that like, because I used to always fear, everyone would always tell me like, well, you've only been in one relationship your whole life, because we were 16 when we started dating. And in my head, having everybody else's like outside
opinion
of being like, you, in order to like be in a healthy relationship one day, you have to have had multiple relationships. Like, that's what I thought. Like, that is more normal too. I'm doing the abnormal, and I understand that, but I went through so much of being like, well, shit, like I have to break up with him and like experience other relationships in order to like get to that place one day, whether it's with him or with somebody else. And then I would always go back to, why would I end such a healthy relationship just because this is what like the norm of what everyone's telling me to do? But like, we're fine. Obviously we have our shit and had our shit throughout the years, but like, we have a great relationship, and like, because of everyone's opinion, I had this fear that like I was doing something wrong or wouldn't work out the way that I wanted to. So it's kind of like that, in a sense, would take over my brain of like, well, we probably are not going to work out because we've never experienced what other people have experienced throughout their 20s or teenage years. But if anything, like, I see our relationship as like, I think it's pretty healthy compared to a lot of ones that I know. And not that we're perfect at all, but like, he's like an angel. Like, he really is. And somebody told me that like, someone told me, and I talked to this like older lady, she was like 40 or whatever, and she said she had been with her person since high school, and then they had broken up, and then she continued on with her life in a different relationship. And she says to this day she regrets that, because in her head she said the grass is always greener. You always think it's going to be better.
Story of my life.
And it's not. And the same thing we were saying about like long-term relationships that you see, like, it will, even if I start dating somebody else 3 or 4 years in, we're probably gonna have the same arguments or same discussions. Like, maybe I was craving at some points that like newness and that new and love feeling, but if anything, we've actually I've gone through that feeling with him, even though we've been together for so long. Like, we grew together. We're like, I still get butterflies sometimes. It feels like a different relationship than when we were 16. He feels like a different person. I'm a different person at 16. Otherwise, we wouldn't be together. There's no way I'd be with who I was with at 16 if he didn't change and I didn't change.
Can I ask you something? Do you have phases of like feeling like I don't know how to explain it.
super in love,
Like,
and then
it's
like more.
has your relationship had different lives? Like, some
course.
years are more like we're roommates, we're partners, and some years are I'm just in love with you, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
everything.
sometimes I go back and forth where I'm like, does he just feel like my best friend? Or like, if I met him now, would I fall in love with him? Or is it just that I'm holding on to history and that safety feeling because I've known him since we were 16 and that's all I know. But I always, still to this day, check with myself, okay, if I met him now, right now, like at the bar, like, would I fall in love with him? His personality, his looks, whatever, like, would I still fall in love with him?
He's on the Fooch dance floor.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel necessarily obvious that might be a thing, and I've talked to my mom about it before, like, and with Soph. It's kind of like going to the gym. You cannot always rely on motivation. You will not always feel motivated to go work out. You just have to go.
Yeah.
And so I think in a lot of ways that can translate to a relationship. You find somebody who you commit to someone as a life partner, through better or for worse.
But it's never permanent, right? You can always leave. You don't have to feel trapped.
No, but that's a wonderful way of saying it, because it's, I think, for you, like, recognizing the agency of like, every day I'm making this choice. You're like, well, why am I making this choice? Well, because I feel secure, I feel happy, I feel taken care of, right? And also, when it ever gets to that point of, you know, maybe this isn't working for me, you're not going to jail for saying like, hey, I need a break or something, right? And so that can also diminish the size of the monster of, is this the right person? Because, well, maybe they're not. And if that rears its head, you are allowed to make that decision when it goes there.
Yeah, I think it's like, I want to be with someone who likes camping. It's like, well, why don't you go camping?
Yeah.
Take them with you.
Right.
You can do it. It doesn't
Exactly.
have to be them who drives it that way.
I feel like we always talk about like the person you choose to be in a relationship, keyword, you are choosing to be in a
is a
relationship with them.
choice.
And you can choose again and again and again. And like she touched on too, like sometimes you're choosing to just be a roommate with this person. Sometimes you're choosing to just be friends, best friends. And sometimes you're choosing to fall in love again. And it's just like with long-term relationships, I think there's going to be weeks, months, maybe even years when you're maybe not feeling super in love with the person, but then you cycle back and it's like you're just choosing like over and over again, I'm choosing to stay committed to this person, even though X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And like, of course, this doesn't apply to everyone because some people just aren't compatible, or maybe someone's like not serving you in the way they used to. That's like a different extreme, though. But like overall with the relationships, like I think just reminding yourself. I don't know why we're talking about like relationships as a whole now, but like.
Like, we're good together.
Yeah, we're just like you're just choosing, and you're never stuck. You're choosing to be here. You're choosing to grow. You're choosing to go through the phases together. And at any point, you can choose to not do that.
And every person you date is going to have issues. I'm telling myself this. Every person you date is going to have issues.
Except me.
So you choose the one who supports you, lifts you up.
Yeah.
Again, like I said earlier, you're aligned, and they make you feel good, and you can see a future with them.
Yeah.
And yeah, the love's not always going to necessarily feel ever present, but
Well, I think
Yeah.
if I can jump in, I think we have like I don't know if this is like a Western problem or like a world problem, but like I think even that word, right, there's not always going to be love. I think we conflate love with limerence or with the
Yes.
honeymoon phase and those
Yes.
feelings, right?
Yes.
And I think we kind of have to like definitionally rethink love as this like negotiation between
Yes.
two people.
I love that.
And I don't know, reframing love in that way of what's like how should it feel or
Yeah.
what, right? I think that's the ultimate
I think
question.
sometimes for me, loving Monty is him just being my
Being
buddy.
there, yes.
Being
Exactly.
my buddy, and we are friends,
Just
and maybe
the
we're
presence.
not like even kissing that day, but he's my buddy because I love him. We love
Yeah.
each other.
Just when you're not when
I
you're
think
not
that's
actually there.
Yeah, I think that's the secret to long term. People get divorced because the love is gone and they panic and they're like, "Oh no, like I'm supposed to be in love."
Yeah.
and
Or
they
when we say the love is gone. Right.
They get
Right.
confused
Okay,
with like
the
being in
butterflies.
love
Yes.
versus having love.
Yes,
Like,
exactly. And that's what I feared. I don't want that for me. I don't want to run away when it doesn't feel perfect. And that is what I'm trying so hard to strive towards is being okay with the imperfection, which sounds
do you think
cliche.
maybe you have like these super high expectations also, or like not you, just in people in general? Like for me, I guess like I talk about this a lot, but in life, in relationships and everything, I try and have like neutral expectations almost. And I feel like me and Soph have talked about this, but like that way when something good happens, it feels really good. And when something doesn't go your way, feels bad, it's like, okay, I was kind of like, it's like a neutral expectation. Then in my head, I'm not like, we're gonna live happily ever after. Like I know shit's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I know it's gonna happen, and I'm like neutral about it. I'm not like being like pessimistic or optimistic
Plan
about
for
it.
the best.
Like,
Plan for the worst. Expect the best.
yeah, like in that way, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But it's also not that serious. If you want a divorce, you can divorce.
Exactly.
I don't want to seem like I'm like, we
Right.
swore
That's-
and we can never.
That's
not
going
the
back to sort of the alligator snake analogy.
Yeah.
Is like it's not venomous.
if something happened that's mutual, like you can like still be friends, and that's when people realize like, oh, like we were maybe meant to be not in love. And like again, like you're not the same person you were at 20 as you are at 50, and you're so lucky if you're able to still be with that person and grow up with that person at 50, I think.
Shiny and new isn't always great.
And there's not just two options. It's not just perfect fairy tale or hating each other, fighting constantly. There are so many in betweens.
Yes, Natalie, there are so many. But yeah, J-Lo and Ben Affleck got married again. Mind you, it didn't go their way.
No.
Right, but you can always get remarried.
You can always
Which
try
which one's
again.
J-Lo and Ben in the relationship? Who we-
I don't know anything about these people.
Oh, okay.
I just know. We're talking about Jennifer Lopez, like J-Lo. Like
Yeah, J-Lo.
And
she was never very kind when I met her.
No, I've heard from multiple people
Yeah,
she's
I
like
don't
a
think she's
terrible
great.
person.
She was not
She
very
funded her own
kind.
movie about herself, and she danced with an umbrella. I think that's all we need to know.
It was kind of everything though. The movie.
And you would say that as a gay.
Because men are always right. Okay, guys, thank you so much for listening
Thank
to our
you.
closing.
Yeah. I'll first say thank you guys for coming.
Yeah.
For having us.
Thanks for having us.
That was
was
awesome.
so fun.
Boy, have us back because we love to talk up
I
here.
know.
Yeah.
And did we solve? I think we cured your OCD, right? You don't have any.
Honestly, I did learn really helpful things at your
Yeah.
partner, things that I should change and things I should
Yeah,
keep
thanks
the
a
same.
lot.
Yeah, thanks, Max. Wait, if like someone wants to like hire you.
Oh. My email is maxvarity@gmail.com. That's
Love.
maxvarady@gmail.com.
No hate mail, please.
No, like I told you,
Are you
like
like a life coach or what do you offer? What do you offer?
Oh, well, thank you. And I'll just plug my stuff. Yeah, so I mean, if you have any type of goal that you want to achieve in your life, I am here to fit in that way. And so I tailor my services like really uniquely to each person. So
Love that.
if you want someone to support you on your journey, be it academic, professional, social, so shoot me an email.
I'm like,
Love
wait,
that.
let me write that down.
I know. I actually, I'm shamelessly like, you guys, like,
We should talk.
as her girlfriend, I was like, because you're like who she needs in her life to help her. Like, that was really
And
special.
my Venmo is Max. No.
but seriously, I mean, I was saying in the beginning, silly in a silly way, but you like. He low-key helped raise me, so no, seriously, in a lot of ways, and I think your advice, obviously we were just like talking back and forth, but your advice is like, I still take it to this day. I think we were talking
talked about this last
week.
episode, yeah, we
I
talked
don't know
about
if
it,
it hasn't come out yet, but we were talking, what was I saying?
We were just saying, like, you're someone will come to you and be like, oh, this is happening in my life. And you're like, oh. And you're looking at them, you're talking, like, you're having a real conversation.
Yes.
Well, that's
Yes.
what we're
Yes.
here.
Right.
No, but you're so like you want to help and like want to listen, and it feels so validating. And then I was talking about how I'm like, well, I'm just a selfish little girl. And I'll talk. Where I'm like, I need to ask Max about his life and how's everything.
I said
but-
Mateo's like that too. When you bring something up to Mateo, he's like, if you're like, hey, Mateo, he's like, hey, how are you? And you're like, oh, good. And he's like, and then he continues to ask,
how are you?
Yes.
And I'm like, well, now that you asked, let me open my mouth.
Yeah.
But anyways, this was so fun. I feel like we should do a part 2 maybe if you guys have any people listening suggesting what we want to
I've
talk
been
about
like,
next.
you two need a podcast.
I know. You guys can do a takeover.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, well, let me
What's our
grab our script because I still forget it. We'll send a voice memo soon because next week's topic is
Too long to text.
Bye.
Bye.